Okay, my dear grade 11 learners, we are already in our last lesson for the introduction of the philosophy of the human person. So, theme number 7, where to start with reading philosophy. My dear grade 11 learners, very important to read. To improve yourself, you must read. Ang mga taong hindi nagbabasa ay hindi tatalino. Kailangan nating magbasa. Oh, yan yung passion natin to learn. So, where to start with reading philosophy? Natutunan natin na philosophy is important. So, let's talk books. If you're a complete newbie to philosophy or beginner ka sa philosophy and are intimidated by the length and density of most philosophical works, that's just fine. We can break you in slowly. There's a list here of entry point books below that discuss major philosophical ideas of the Western canon so you can have a little familiarity before diving in yourself. Pag Western, ibig sabihin yan ay galing sa Europe and America. There are also philosophical novels and memoirs. Many philosophers prefer this format rather than the classic essay. They are certainly easier to read, but sometimes their arguments and points aren't as clear. There are easier philosophy books and more difficult and serious books. Obviously, none of these lists are exhaustive. So there is a free encyclopedia on philosophy na pwede niyong gamitin. Napaka-importante, napakaganda. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Pwede po ninyo itong gamitin sa internet na itong Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy sa pag-research ninyo tungkol sa mga librong, sa isang librong pipiliin ninyo sa philosophy. It's an incredible resource for summaries of major works and simpler explanations of difficult concepts. It's also free. Of course, pwede rin ang Wikipedia. No? Pwede rin kayo maghanap dyan. Meron rin app ang Wikipedia. It's free. Wikipedia entries for major philosophers and their works are often very good. Don't be afraid to hop on and read a summary of a book you just finished if you aren't really confident you understood all of it. So sana ang idea rito ay makabasa kayo ng isang philosophical book. Kung hindi man kayo makabasa, at least mag-research kayo tungkol sa isang philosophical book na makikita ninyo sa mga listahang ito. Entry points to philosophical ideas. So ito ang unang mga entry points kung gusto nyong ma-immerse sa mundo ng filosofiya. Ito yung mga entry points. Number 1, Sophie's World. May libro akong ganito by Justin Gardner. An easy-to-read novel that also serves as introduction to the entire Western canon or the Western philosophy. Pangalawa, A Guide to the Good Life, The Ancient Art of Stoic Joy by William Irvine, an introduction to Stoicism. Number 3, The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt, a summary of ancient wisdom on happiness combined with modern psychology research on happiness. Meron akong ebook nito, The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. Becker relies on the work of Freud, Kierkegaard, and Otto Rank to put together an existential framework for how fear of death inspires us to create meaning. Isa pa, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, a great entry point to Stoic philosophy but also ancient philosophy in general. And also, a book of my favorite author Mark Manson, Everything is Fact, a book about hope. I have a book of this. I bought it through Shopee. Ngayon, punta naman tayo sa mga philosophical novels and memoirs para mas easy ang pagbasa ng filosofiya. The Stranger and the Plague by Albert Camus. Nausea by Jean-Paul Sartre. Crime and Punishment and Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Candide by Voltaire. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, The Spoke Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Kung gusto naman ninyo mga easier philosophy books, pwede rin kayo mag-research dito. The Republic by Plato, Meditations on First Philosophy by René Descartes, Ethics by Benedict Espinosa, Letters from a Stoic by Seneca, Nature and Other Essays by Emerson, Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche, Fear and Trembling by Soren Kierkegaard. Kung gusto naman ninyong serious philosophy, dahil marami na kayong nabasa sa filosofiya, ito, A Treatise on Human Nature by David Hume, Critique of Pure Reason by Immanuel Kant, Phenomenology of Spirit by Hegel, The World as Will and Representation by Schopenhauer, Being and Nothingness by Jean-Paul Sartre, Reasons and Persons by Derek Parfit. Okay. According kay Mark Manson, ito yung kanyang listahan sa 13 best books in philosophy in no particular order. Nabanggit na yung Republic by Plato, The Origination of Political Science, and a brilliant critique of government that is still important today. Kaya mga politicians, kailangan na mabasa nila ang The Republic by Plato para maging isa mabuti silang politician. The Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle, mahalaga rin ito. The Root of Aristotelian Ethics, hanggang ngayon ay ginagamit natin, and therefore many of the moral ideas that underpin all of Western civilization. Number 3, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Imagine a self-help book written by the emperor of roughly 1/3 of the planet. Yeah, that's what this is. Number 4, On the Shortness of Life by Seneca. A short rumination on death and what makes life worth living by probably the most famous Stoic philosopher. Number 5, ito, Confessions by Saint Augustine. The original memoir. Confessions would inform a millennium of church theology and Western philosophy. Number 6, Meditation on First Philosophy by René Descartes. Source of Descartes famous, I think, therefore I am. 7, Ethics by Benedict de Spinoza, the basis of rationalism, a school of philosophical thought that dominated during the Enlightenment. Number 8, An Essay Concerning Human Understanding by John Locke, the basis of empiricism, the rival school of philosophical thought during the Enlightenment. Number 9, The Critique of Pure Reason by Immanuel Kant. Rationalism and empiricism were united under Kant's immense observations about the limits of human cognition and reason, arguably the most important philosophical work since the ancient Greeks. Number 10, Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche. Probably Nietzsche's most cogent statement of his views that traditional morality is subjective and that people must evolve to a higher understanding of what's valuable and what is not. Number 11, of course, Everything is Fact, a book about hope by Mark Manson. Yan, sinasabi niya. No? Number 12, The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. Written on his deathbed, a look at how all our anxieties and motivations are ultimately rooted in our fear of our own non-existence, profound and thought-provoking. And number 13, Reasons and Persons by Derek Parfit. A difficult read and a very difficult, though through painstaking logic, Parfit shows that acting in self-interest is impossible. Personhood does not exist, and pretty much anything you do is evil. This is considered by many to be the most important psychological work of the later 20th century. So my dear grade 11 learners sa Philosophy of the Human Person, pipili po kayo ng isang libro po dyan. Kung pwede, basahin ninyo, and you do a research, and you submit it through the Kuiper essay. So yung question sa Kuiper essay ay ipapadala ko para doon rin kayo sasagot. No? Do your best in doing your essay kasi 60% ang weight ng essay na yan. So don't copy paste. So thank you very much and enjoy and do your best.